Is going on, Harley? I have not seen you in a minute, guys. Welcome to another episode. You got Ruben here. You got the handsome man himself, Harley Dugan. Dude, with the Super Bowl last night being done, I'm ready to start
Few
again.
months.
I, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Like, training camp needs to start tomorrow. Um, Season needs to start next week. Like, I am 100% ready. This is no longer year one anymore, Harley. It's year two.
Yeah, man. They took an extraordinary leap forward with this offseason and the regular season included. The Houston Texans have catapulted themselves into, one of the top teams in the AFC, and that is without this offseason and this upcoming draft. So who
Mm.
knows where the Texans could land ideally.
No, and it's just I think everyone's mind after last night's game was this dynasty has to be stopped. Because once again, the Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl champions. They were down the entire first half. You want to hear a fun stat, Harley?
Go ahead.
In the Pat Mahomes era, they are 9-2 in the postseason while being down 7+ points. We're victims of that. 24-0.
Yeah, I know.
And dude, it's like, I'm a big Star Wars fan, man. This is the Empire. This
Yep,
is
it
it.
is.
Andy Reid is Palpatine. Darth Vader is Patrick Mahomes. One of the Feds is Travis Kelsey. I mean, I could go on and on of
Yeah.
how this Kansas City Chiefs is about to, I mean, dominate the rest of the NFL, man. There's no signs of slowing down with this team. They showed you this year they don't need a wide receiver. All this year we were saying this is not the same Chiefs. The dynasty's over. We said we would rather play Buffalo in the playoffs than we would rather play Kansas City than play Buffalo. That's the conversation that were being had amongst Texans fans after we beat the Browns, and we were like, oh, who are we gonna play? Who are we gonna play? Who would we rather play? But Harley, Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champions again, back-to-back years, first time in 20 years. What are your thoughts on them?
Man, uh, it's the Astros, right? They're the hated NFL team. Nobody likes them. They adds on to more of the villainous role by
Mm.
adding the Taylor Swift people that do not like all of the Swifties, and so that adds on more into the bravado that is the Kansas City Chiefs with the partying and the Travis Kelsey all hugging up on T Swizzle, and
Ice
it's
Spice
called
was there.
Chiefs. Hey man, Jason Kelsey is an absolute, like, I need a party with that dude. I
I
need a
don't think
party
we
with that
can,
guy.
bro. I don't think we can
I
hang
don't
with
think
the guy.
I don't think so either. But hell, I'm gonna go down trying.
I'll do my best.
I'm gonna go down trying. That man, if anybody didn't see, there's a video of Travis like arm around Taylor Swift, and here's Jason Kelsey in the background. Just a little sneak peek of what he was doing. By the way, overalls, Kansas City colors, overalls, Rey Mysterio mask
Mm.
on, and just almost trips on his own feet into the bushes. That's how just buzzed, drunk face he was. It was just hilarious. But it's called Chiefs Kingdom for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the nickname. And the Kansas City Chiefs are the top dogs in the AFC. There's credit to them. They
NFL,
continue to
bro.
win. Yeah, man, they continue to win year in, year out. They're always in the AFC Championship game and or the Super Bowl.
Mm.
It's just like the Houston Astros. They're always in the ALCS and or the World Series. So the Kansas City Chiefs are a dynasty, and it doesn't look like it's stopping. Andy Reid is coming back. Travis Kelsey's coming back. The Houston Texans got some work to do in order to gain ground because right now we are at the feet of the Chiefs Kingdom.
And I think it's not just us, man. It's the entire
Sure.
NFL at the feet of Kansas City. I thought the Super Bowl, it was a good game.
Yeah.
I thought the halftime show was fine. However, if I'm Alicia Keys, man, I don't know how I let someone else hug my girl from the back and watching her giggle, and look at him as well. Some bodies would have had to been dropped. But I think this game towards the end, it lived up to the hype. It lived up to what we thought the Super Bowl was going to be. Is two of the powerhouses of recent years of the AFC and the Chiefs and the NFC of the 49ers going at it once again in the Super Bowl. And it's now 0-3 for Kyle Shanahan. And we said it last week. If they lose this game, there is going to be a lot of question marks. We've already seen it with Shanahan. Do we get rid of him or not? With Brock Purdy, you saw Shannon Sharp go on First Take and absolutely destroy Brock Purdy. And just look at what's happening since then. You had Brandon Ayuk go on Instagram. Don't forget what got you to the dance. How does a 1,300-yard receiver have 3 yards? His friend, his brother, and I think either his girlfriend or the boy or his brother's girlfriend
Something
said,
like that.
"We are gone from San Francisco." If you're Nick Casario, you make that call. You try to see what you can do to make Brandon Ayuk a Houston Texan. But man, it's like it seemed like all of America was going for the 49ers, but I
Felt like
think I think we all knew what was going to happen. And whenever that muff putt happened, I
mm,
think it was over. And like Kittle said a couple of weeks ago, or during the media day, he said momentum is a real thing in sports, and
yep.
you saw it. Kansas City only needed a quarter and a half. They didn't even score until 8 minutes left in the third, and three-time champions, no sign of stopping. So Harley, I ask you, and I ask every other person in the chat, shout out to you for joining us. We're having an episode in a minute. Harley, are the Houston Texans a threat to the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty?
I got a video cooking in the lab right now
Mm,
for this exact question, and it's cooking right now. I got it in the editing process, and it's the same question. Do you think the Houston Texans can beat the Kansas City Chiefs? And one of my main points, besides quarterback, which I'll get to in just a minute, but one of my main points in that is you have the four foundational pieces in the NFL in terms of positions.
mm,
And what does that ultimately mean? It means NFL, the four foundational pieces are cornerback, edge rusher, left tackle, and quarterback.
and coach.
And coach, obviously. Which that was one of my other points in
Mm,
the video. Was D'Amico to me is a good to great head coach, and it's only year one. He's going to get better. The Houston Texans have those four foundational pieces. Cornerback being Derek Stingley Jr. We all
mm.
saw what he's capable of doing when healthy. We hope he continues to stay healthy. It was never an issue about ability, just durability. So he played like a top 10 cornerback, arguably top 5 cornerback in this league. 5 interceptions, by the way, from Derek Stingley.
Elite.
Laramie Tunsil, elite. Laramie Tunsil, I mean, regardless of how Texans fans feel about Laramie Tunsil, at the end of the day, he's still a top 5 left tackle in this league,
Mm-hmm.
arguably top 3. All right, so that's locked down. You go to your number 3rd overall pick, edge rusher Will Anderson, and he's only going to get better. 7.5
Yep.
sacks, sweeping the Defensive Rookie of the Year award in the NFL. He was an absolute train wreck last year in terms of stuff in the run game and could be better in the pass game. But again, this is only year one. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, you got yourself a potential lockdown edge rusher as well. And then you go to your number 2 overall pick in quarterback CJ Stroud. The Houston Texans got themselves the quarterback of the future. And it's not just any regular quarterback of the future. You're talking about a guy that's going to be amongst the greatest. And he's already amongst that. There's already the stat with him touchdown interception ratio with Joe Montana and Tom Brady.
Yep.
CJ Stroud is right there. ladies and gentlemen, you have a quarterback right here in the city of Houston that can compete with Patrick Mahomes.
Mm.
So that's why I fully believe that the Houston Texans can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm not talking regular season. F all the regular season talk. I've seen this Texans team beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season. I don't care about regular season. I'm talking playoffs. Home or on the road, this Houston Texans team, as long as obviously they make the right steps moving forward in the years coming. But I do believe that this year coming up, the 24-25 season, the
Mm.
Houston Texans have an opportunity to not only what they did last year was leap out of rebuild territory and into playoff contention. This year they have an opportunity to replicate what they did last offseason. Doesn't have to be an A grade, but give me a good B, B plus. Hell, you hit it out of the park, you hit it out of the park. Hey, give me back-to-back years of awesomeness from the offseason. The Houston Texans have an opportunity to take 3 steps forward this offseason and catapult themselves from not just the top 8, but the top 4, and hopefully beating, dethroning the
Mm.
Chiefs Kingdom.
No, I agree with you. I called Kansas City the Empire, and if
Yeah.
they are the Empire, CJ Stroud is Luke Skywalker, and I 100% think the Houston Texans are a threat to the Kansas City Chiefs. You mentioned the quarterback CJ Stroud, what he did in year 1. I mean, if it wasn't for those 2 missed games, we're still having those MVP conversations about him. I think the Texans have their foundation, and you just said it all. You got Derek Steen, you got Will, you got Tank, you got CJ, you got D'Amico. You also have coaches in waiting. Bringing back Bobby Slowick one more year and bringing back Gerard Johnson. And you can argue that was just as important as bringing back Bobby Slowick. I think this is now on the shoulders of the front office. I mean, obviously, once again, bring some talent to this Houston Texans team. This is going to be the first time in Nick Casario's tenure as Texans GM where he finally has money, potentially 60 to 70. It could be $80 million depending on the moves that they make and restructuring a contract of a left tackle. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But we're a few pieces away, man. We don't have to find those franchise guys. We already got it. And just think about the amount of pressure that is on the upcoming free agency class, on the upcoming draft class. We think you're the missing piece. We think you are the guys that are going to get us to our first ever AFC championship, our first ever Super Bowl appearance, man. The time is now. I did a video on this yesterday. Our window's open, and it's wide the fuck open. You have CJ Stroud in a contract the next 4 years. Until
Yep.
you make him the highest paid player in the NFL, bring as much talent as you can to this Houston Texans roster.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the other talking points. You got to add talent to the roster, So, in order to take those necessary steps into hopefully not just throwing slugs at the Kansas City Chiefs, but throwing it with everything you got,
Mm.
not just the foundational pieces, but you need your Nikos, you need your Tank Dells, you need a running back for this team, in my opinion, is one of the biggest spots offensively. The offensive line, I think, look, there's not going to be a lot of moves there, as we know. I think they're going to stand pat at offensive line, whether that's upsetting Texans fans or not. Let's not overreact. The offensive line, when fully healthy, would be better than what we saw last year. Defensively, there's a lot to improve upon, whether it's the interior defensive line, the linebackers, the secondary, safeties, corners specifically,
Mm-hmm.
edge rusher as well. Like you need a lot defensively, and that's why there's so much credit to D'Amico Ryans, who, in my opinion, the 2023 Coach of the Year, because what he did defensively. I mean, these guys. Let's be real. Who's Blake Cashman?
Mm.
Like we know him as Texans fans. You ask any other 31 of the other teams in the NFL, they're not going to know a damn lick of Blake Cashman, Christian Harris. Hell, you had some spot games from Henry To'oTo'o, had us believing. You had a game here and there from Khalil Davis, who was really good for you all year. picking up a
Mm-hmm.
Derek Garnett, picking up a Tierre Tart. All of these guys at some point in the year, regardless of how many games they played, they had a play.
Mm-hmm.
They made a play. DeAndre Houston, Carson, the list goes on. What D'Amico did with this defense and to produce it into a top 10 against a rush, top 5, I want to say, against a run defense when you were 32nd, that's unheard of. So D'Amico Ryans is only going to get better. CJ Stroud is only going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Houston Texans are only going to get better. Ladies and gentlemen, get a ticket.
Mm.
Get comfy.
Mm.
Because the movie, that was just the trailers, man. This was just the trailers. The movie's about to begin right now, and it starts this off season.
It just sucks that free agency is like a month away, dude. And all we can do is just speculate and wish and hope and be like, man, I just can't wait for it to happen. And then, like, my excitement for this team has reached a point where it's never been. Like, and I'm not sure if it's the same for you, but I really think we got the key pieces to actually contend in this league for the future. And guys, drop your questions in the chat. We want to also hear from you guys as well. You have me here, you have Harley here for the next 15 minutes. We just witnessed the Kansas City Chiefs win their third Super Bowl. And guys, it's a long road ahead. T asks Harley, 10 million for Saquon? Absolutely. I don't absolutely. One thing I do like, Harley, and we haven't mentioned this, is the amount of names that have already been mentioned with the Houston Texans, right? The rumors, AJ Brown being favored to be traded here. We just saw Hassan Riddick today being favored to be traded here. Jamar Chase during the Pro Bowl telling CJ Stroud, you want to play with me, bro. Come on. That moment goes viral. Cincinnati's fans get so upset. Jamar Chase had to tweet something for to calm them down. Then you got Stephon Diggs asking former Houston Texans players, well, one player, I think it was Andre Johnson, honestly, but about the organization and the team. He still has 4 years left on his deal. Why is he looking in to the Houston Texans? But get used to this, guys, because if this was the trailer, I could only imagine how the movie is going to be. And
Yeah.
you have your starting cast coming back. And the only really guy we have to worry about is Jonathan Grenard. And I'm not sure how you feel, Harley. I am already on the I feel like he's gone. I'm looking at mock drafts. I'm guys like Chop Robinson from Penn State. I'm looking at free agency, Clowney, Bryce Huff. Hey, man, your boy Chase Young did look good yesterday during the Super Bowl. Maybe he only plays hard when the game matters, but
There we go. There it is.
what?
That's what. Look, man, I had a 5-man parlay. Pat Mahomes over 1.5 touchdown. Check.
Okay,
Travis Kelce over 69.5 yards. Receiving. Check.
check.
Kyle Juszczyk over 5.5 rushing and receiving yards. Check. McCole Hardman over 1 touchdown. Took the double. Check. He got it. Chase Young, half sack. I went. They said they're going to bench him. Under. Absolute pain. $224 potentially. Absolute pain. I should have thought about it. You know why? Because you're absolutely right, damn it. You are absolutely freaking right. Chase Young, who did not freaking play at all in the playoffs, lollygag throughout the rest of this regular season with the 49ers, and he decides, the Super Bowl's here. You know what? I'm going to play for the first half. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play for the first half. And why did the 49ers were all over Patrick Mahomes with him and Gregory and Nick Bosa, all of them, because Chase Young played his ass off in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Great football from him. And all of a sudden, second half, I already got my sack. Back to lackadaisical Chase Young. Back to lazy man. All right, he's more Jadeveon Clowney pre-draft than Jadeveon Clowney. Come on, come on, ridiculous.
Dude, he looked. I mean, yeah, like you said, he looked dominant in the first half, and just didn't really show out in the second half. I mean, all of San Francisco didn't show out in the second half, dude. How do you think they must feel like getting to the dance and just consistently losing?
It must feel horrible. Think about it. I'll put it this way. What if it was the Houston Texans losing in the Super Bowl?
For the third time or for the first time?
It doesn't really matter.
It does, because with this loss, it's more of like, I don't think we can ever win the
True.
big game. If you've
True.
already had 3 chances and 2 chances in the past 5 years with different quarterbacks, um, chances are it's going to be hard to get back there. And when you have already so much disgruntled players, like I mentioned, Brandon Ayuk, and you have a lot of people questioning Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan, 0-3, 0-2 as a head coach, and we know what happened there in Atlanta. Uh,
Yeah.
if it's our first Super Bowl loss, it would sting, but I would be like, all right, we can be back. With the Niners, you've been back, right? Kittle,
True.
what did he say?
True.
I will be back. And he was back, but was non-effective. Non-effective. Yes, you did get back, but you were there almost 3-4 years later, man. You're not the same tight end you were, back then. It's just, I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't know what to do if you're San Fran, because like we heard after the Baltimore game, Will Anderson Jr. was crying, and
Yes.
what did C.J. Stroud said? Hey, we're gonna be all right. All right. Cap said we're gonna be all right. Now imagine if that was our third Super Bowl loss, bro.
That's tough, man.
Like,
That's tough.
like, can we ever get it
With
done?
the memes and the clowning, because everyone's memeing you. Everyone's clowning you. Other fan bases, regardless if they went 0-16 or didn't make the playoffs or you beat them in the playoffs, it didn't matter. They're gonna
Mm,
talk their noise to you. It would be tough, man. It would be tough to losing in the Super Bowl is always rough for me.
yeah.
It just I couldn't imagine losing in the Super Bowl. It just sounds horrific because my idea is it's tough to get back there again. And I know that the 49ers, they're such a good team. They deserve a Super Bowl, to be honest. Kyle Shanahan deserves it. But hey, you know how many teams deserve a Super Bowl? Like, it's not just given. You got to go earn the damn Super Bowl. So, hey, if they're that good of a team, they'll go back and do it again, right?
But now this is what? Now it's your third time in the past 6 years?
For
Like,
Shanahan,
for Shanahan, right? But I feel like that now is like a mental thing,
it,
because
it does play a mental factor.
it's like the Cowboys and the Packers. No matter who the quarterback is, no matter who the coach is, when the Packers enter Dallas,
It's over.
it's over. And I'm so happy we don't have that team that we just, no matter who it is, we just lose to. Do we have that team?
Do we have that team? Do we have that team? I don't think we do. I mean, I see.
It was
I
the
know a lot of
Patriots, but that was
true.
that was bright.
That's Tom Brady. Like who didn't lose to Tom Brady?
Yeah.
I know a lot of Colts fans would say Indianapolis, but like, I mean,
They didn't
come
give me any
on,
heartbreaking losses.
exactly. They didn't give me no. Oh man, like the team barely starting. They were screwed by the NFL when they got formed because they didn't have the same level of players like the Carolina Panthers did whenever they got formed, or the Jacksonville Jaguars whenever they were created. The
Mm.
Texans got hoed by the NFL. But regardless, like We lost to the Colts every year in Indianapolis. Some guy named Peyton Manning, I heard, was pretty good at football.
Yeah, he's all right.
So, he basically dominated with all those weapons, but at the end of the day, we can stir the conversation this way. And I'll now drop it since I'm talking about the Colts. Um, what do you think about the Reggie Wayne conversation?
With Andre Johnson, and they said that he had to share the workload with,
Marvin,
with Clark and Harrison, and then who else? Oh, T.Y.
Brandon,
Hills,
yeah, Brandon Stokely. Reggie Wayne
Andre.
apparently is better according to Colts fans.
Well, that's Colts fans, bro. That's why no one fucking likes them. Andre Johnson might be the biggest what if story at the wide receiver position. What if he had a quarterback? I think Andre would have gotten to the Hall of Fame sooner if we would have had Peyton Manning that year.
Mm,
Think of how much different the legacy of Andre Johnson is if we do move on from Matt Schaub to Peyton Manning. I mean, Peyton Manning goes in and just lights up the league. And you have Demarius Thomas looking like an all pro. You have their tight end have a 16, 17 touchdown season and gets paid the next year and just falls off the face of the earth. You had Wes Welker. Like, if Andre had a quarterback, man, I mean, we might be. He's already one of the great wide receivers, but now you have a conversation of should this dude be in the top 10? Should this dude be in the top 5? And I just wish he would have had one, bro. I wish he would have.
yeah, obviously I'm going to agree with you. I think it's pretty laughable that Reggie Wayne is thrown into these conversations.
Mhm.
Statistically, they want to say that he is better than Andre Johnson. Sure. Statistically, congratulations. Statistically, he has better stats than Andre Johnson. But at the end of the day, I go with what Chris Carter said.
Mm,
And I watched the Hall of Fame knocks, and Chris Carter said it best. There was no weaknesses in Andre Johnson's game.
at all.
Big body wide receiver. He was fast. He was a magician with his footwork. I mean, there was no receiver I have ever seen better than getting his 2 feet in to
Mm,
catch a ball than Andre Johnson. I mean, there's highlight reels for his toe drag swag. He's absolutely elite at it. He could go up and get the high point the ball. He's one of the best to ever do it. And he was arguably the best wide receiver in his position
mm.
for a few years. The debate was, is Andre Johnson the best wide receiver in the NFL?
That was
Now,
it.
my question is, did Reggie Wayne ever have that kind of question for him?
No,
I
because
don't
he
think
was
so.
sharing targets with T.Y. Hilton.
Oh no. Oh no. He let a rookie outplay him. He let Marvin Harrison. Cool. Marvin Harrison, fantastic wide receiver. At the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
if Colts fans want to bring this question up, then my immediate question is, how the hell is Edgerrin James a Hall of Famer? Arian Foster's better than Edgerrin James.
Absolutely.
And he only played half the games. If you multiply his games by 2, Arian Foster would beat him statistically in a lot of things.
Mm.
Edgerrin James isn't even top 20 in rushing touchdowns. He's not even top 10 in rushing yards. Edgerrin James is not a Hall of Famer. Excuse me, Colts fans. So if y'all want to come in here and start talking about who should be in the Hall of Fame, who shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, at the end of the day, Edgerrin James ain't no goddamn Hall of Famer. Let's be real.
Nope.
All right. The only reason Edgerrin James is in the Hall of Fame is because of Peyton Manning. And look, you want me to go one step further? There is no damn way Tony Dungy should be in the Hall of Fame. The only reason he's in the damn Hall of Fame is because of Peyton Manning.
What?
Okay, so excuse me. All right. That Tampa 2 defense in Tampa Bay, cool. Congratulations. You were absolutely fantastic. But at the end of the day, Peyton Manning should be having at least 2 more busts in that Hall of Fame. And he should sketch those names off and rewrite Edgerrin James in the Hall of Fame because of Peyton Manning. Tony Dungy in the Hall of Fame because of Peyton Manning. Andre Johnson in the Hall of Fame. Period.
Because of Andre.
Exactly.
Can you
That's just
imagine
how
if
it
you had
rolls.
CJ Stroud?
What you mean?
Like if Andre had CJ?
I mean,
When he had a good quarterback play, he was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Like the conversation was always him or Calvin Johnson, and then you
you
could
wanna
sprinkle in Des Bryant.
you wanna bring up the past conversations. I'm about to upset a lot of people because I'm about to get that thorn on the side of people. That old wound is about to be rehashed with the old former quarterback that was here with the Houston Texans. But there was many edits of which offense is better, and it would be Deshaun Watson with Arian Foster and Andre Johnson compared to Matt Schaub, Will Fuller, and DeAndre Hopkins. And I'll just I'll just go with
That's
that.
insane.
Like
That's
we used to
insane.
have those conversations. I'm glad we're talking more about the current quarterback. We'll go back to the present. Let's go back into the present. CJ Stroud with Andre Johnson would be absolutely elite.
Timothy.
Andre would go down. He would have. He would definitely be rivaling up there with Jerry Rice's records. I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything false there.
I love Andre Johnson. One of the reasons why I fell in love with the game of football. And after Andre, bro, I have not had like a favorite player, if that makes sense. Now it's
Hater,
CJ.
bro.
Like now
Such
it's
a
CJ
hater.
because
Such a hater.
this is the dude. And dude, you talking about JJ? Fuck JJ, dude.
Such a hater, bro.
I'm talking about the dude who made me just love the pigskin, and that was Andre Johnson. Then
Such a hater.
I tried to do the whole JJ thing. The bandwagons were absolutely insane. Made me not want to publicly root for number 99. Thought it was going to be Clowney. Did not work out. Thought it was going to be Hopkins. Gets traded for a bag of chips.
Mm,
Now
mm.
it's,
Good old stale bag of chips too.
dude, I cannot believe we gave up fucking David Johnson in a second round pick.
Yeah,
And
we're
then
not
seeing
doing that.
Stephon Diggs
We're
get
not doing
traded like 3 days later for like 4 picks, including a
we're not doing
first
that.
round.
We're not talking about this.
Dude, like people really want to give a shit and talk about Nick Casario and how he hasn't done anything. Like, brother, do you know what he inherited? Like,
Yes.
honestly, which other GM could have came in and fixed it because you had no first round pick, no second round pick in year one. You've had no money the last 2 years. This is the first year you have this 60, 70, $80 million potentially. And we were the laughing stock of the NFL. And, like, don't go to Houston. Why should D'Amico go to Houston? Horrible franchise, like horrible owners. And now the same guys that were talking shit just 12 months ago are on the bandwagon, which is fine. I don't care. But there was only few believers in this Houston Texans team. It was the people that went every single day to training camp. It was the people that followed the entire year, went to the games, went to the tailgates, was at the draft party. Those are the people I consider real Houston Texans fans. Harley, before we go, do you have anything to say to the beautiful people in this chat?
I got a few things. First of all, shout out to Suzu Boki right there. That right there, that's the comment right there, buddy. That is it. Edric James. Just to rehash that point. My next one is again, I just want to reiterate how awesome it is to see Andre Johnson in the Hall of Fame. Just absolutely fantastic. It has me thinking about Canton, Ohio. It has me thinking about it. It really does. I want to go. I kind of do. I
When
kind
is
of
it?
want to see it. I believe it's August the 2nd. I have to Google that again. I know it's sometime in like early August. Um,
Fuck it, road trip, bro. Let's go.
Like I'm really thinking about it, but
Dude, this was the guy. I mean, you talk about Andre, bro. Like to see a Hall of Fame player right in front of you, and
yeah,
to know that during his time he was a Hall of Famer.
yeah.
Like with JJ Watt, whenever JJ Watt was tearing up the league, you said
Oh,
this is a first ballot Hall of Fame wide receiver.
did you?
I'm sorry, Hall of Fame defensive player.
Did you?
Dude, I had even said I think JJ Watt would get in the Hall of Fame faster than Andre Johnson.
He's not first ballot. I'm gonna be upset.
No, 100%. I
Mm,
think JJ has to be first ballot. You can't just 20 seasons of I'm sorry, not 20 seasons, 2 sacks. 2 seasons of 20 plus sacks, dear
there we
God.
go. Jesus.
Multiple time defensive player of the year. This dude will catch touchdowns. He'll take a pick six back. He'll take a fumble back. Then he'll give you a nay in the end zone. I cannot believe we were doing that, dude. Chase says he's from Delaware.
Hey,
This
all
is
right,
my team. Go Houston
man.
Texans. If you're
Shout
watching the
out to
Texans
Chase.
in freaking Delaware, dog, you are a true Houston Texans
If
fan. Dominic
if
said, "What position should we draft in this in the first round?" I could go different ways. Cornerback, Kool-Aid McKinstry. We heard John talk about Quinion Mitchell from
yes,
Toledo. Edge rusher, someone like Chop could be available. Wide
yeah.
receiver, Brian Thomas from LSU. Hopefully
Mm,
he falls. Troy Franklin from Oregon.
mm,
Um, Defensive tackle, we've already been mocked. I think the top two, Byron Murphy from
yeah,
Texas, and we've been mocked
Jerzon
Jerzon
Newton.
Newton from Illinois. And we've even been mocked Leonard Taylor, defensive
Yeah.
tackle from Miami in the second round. So I think those are the four biggest needs for this Houston Texans as they enter the offseason. What about you, Harley?
Yeah. What position should we draft for our first round draft pick in this year's draft? I'm specifically dependent on the board,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. But to answer the question fairly, I would really look at interior defensive linemen. I'm very I'm praying that Jerzon Newton falls to 23, because that would just be a dream. If the Houston Texans landed Jerzon Newton, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling everybody
Super Bowl.
right now that is watching, Jerzon Newton is the real deal. I'm telling you right now. He's being comped to Grady Jarrett from the Atlanta Falcons, and Grady Jarrett
It's a
was a guy
beast.
that's super underrated. And yes, he was a beast. I am a fan of Xavier Legend from South Carolina. I do like the name a lot. Big body wide receiver. Peyton Wilson is somebody that John Crumpler has mentioned. Saw him at the Senior Bowl. He came from NC State. Very, very interesting as well. No, Houston has not cut Jimmy Ward.
They should.
So yeah, they should. They could save some money definitely. Plus, if they cut him, and this was a little small question, if they cut Jimmy Ward, because Jimmy Ward, I would say, in terms of just last year, and I know CJ Stroud is probably going to take that mantle as your
Captain.
vocal captain leader. Defensively, though, who is that guy right now? And we're going to add some players, so this can change. But defensively, who is that? We saw Chris Jones on the sideline for Kansas City, and just nothing over the top, nothing like crazy. He's just being an absolute engineer on the sidelines with his defensive line, with the entire defense. Hey, this is what we got to do. This is our last game. This, like all the cliches are thrown in there. Who do we have that can be that guy?
I think it's going to be Christian Harris. Why? Because I think he's
Mm,
the closest to D'Amico Ryans. In seeing that clip where he basically just draws up the pick six for him,
yeah.
I think we kind of saw something right there where, okay, you have the head of the defense talking to the linebacker, who we all know the linebacker is one of the leaders amongst the defenses. And Christian Harris in the final, last couple of games, even into the playoffs, was playing lights out. I mean, you could argue, dude, like this dude was playing legit football.
Yes.
And I think that's gonna just continue to translate into this upcoming year. You brought up Chris Jones. I like that because I was also gonna say if they do bring in a free agent, right? They bring in a Matabuke, if you want to say Chris Jones too, right? Whichever high profile free agent comes in, I think would be the captain for the
Yeah,
Houston Texans if
I
they bring one
absolutely
in.
agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I really do. Um, yeah, I'll definitely get into watching some Troy Franklin. I definitely will. Keon Coleman, I'm not sure he's going to be there at 23. I do wonder with Keon Coleman sometimes. I need to see some more film from him. I don't know.
Mm,
I'm not fully sold yet on Keon Coleman, and I know he like just from just watching him, he looks like an absolute beast. But when you're looking at some of the details in his game, kind of am starting to wonder a little bit about
mm.
Keon Coleman. But maybe it's nothing else. My final thing I do want to say:
Go ahead.
we finishing the story, buddy. We finishing the story. I'm
Shout
getting what I
out,
wanted.
shout out, shout out to WWE for really, and I was telling my friend this Jacob, I said WWE really saved themselves from a catastrophe.
Yeah,
You had people not watching WWE talking about WWE, saying, "What's going on? Why is The Rock back?" And everyone knows who The Rock is. No one knows who Cody Rhodes is.
ish. Yeah,
Ish, right, right. I mean, like besides the diehard wrestling fans, right?
yeah.
We know who Cody Rhodes is, but that moment on SmackDown, and I caught it. I said The Rock's coming out, and the 48 hours that happened after that, the amount of negative reaction was insane. Nathan Judge says, I've seen sources say Deshaun has been trying to connect CJ Stroud and Jack Easterby for a three. All right, okay.
Nice.
But go.
Before he declined, we know he started by saying, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Shout out to, shout out. Yes, yes. Shout out to our Lord and Savior up here. But, dude, it was bad. And the fact that a lot of people were just talking crap about the WWE, talking crap about The Rock. Everyone was already finding ways to get out of this situation. Then you heard the reports that whenever TKO took over
Yeah.
WWE as The Rock as one of the head members, that it was his decision the entire time to do this from the beginning. And that didn't make you feel good because who's going to
Mm-mm.
be here the Monday after Mania? It's going to be Cody Rhodes. It's not going to be Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And
Nope.
and for all my real wrestling fans, I think we saw this a couple of years ago with CM Punk.
Yeah, we did.
And he was,
And
like he said, white hot and did not get the main event at Mania.
it's unfortunate. It really was. It really was. I do think a lot of people did not have that much of disagreement, though,
Mm-hmm.
back then. Because it was the first time we've seen The Rock in like forever.
Yeah.
So there wasn't too much of a disagreement. Plus, you were getting a Rock Cena match, So, I mean, I didn't necessarily mind it,
Mm-hmm.
but it was pretty upsetting for Punk not to get that main event at Mania.
Yeah, and just to see just a week later, The Rock and Roman Reigns joining on the same side,
Mm,
and then him slapping Cody. What's first of
mm,
all, I mean, head of the table is The Rock, right? I think we could all agree that he is The Rock, and I don't care what anyone says. The first person who grabs the mic is the head, and that is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I do wonder how this unfolds with the rest of the bloodline because it kind of looks like they're gearing up for an all-out war. When you
mm,
see Seth Rollins say, "You don't have to fight this alone. I am your
mm-hmm.
shield. I could be your
Oof,
shield."
oof.
And you're like, okay, so, and I think we talked about this. Like, what if Mania we see just everyone, the bloodline fucked over, Sami Zayn AJ Styles just come out and beat the shit of not Roman Reigns, but the bloodline. And I think the carnage will be all around the ring, like 8 people just fighting each other. And in the center would be Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Rock comes out, and then you know who comes out next? Time to play the game. It's time to play the game. Who gives a fuck about a peacemaker in his chest? If he dies, he dies. Triple H comes out in the motorcycle. What the sledgehammer?
Motorcycle.
Like he did in the other WrestleMania when he came out that big ass chopper.
He came out on the chopper? I don't remember that.
Dude, I'm gonna send you the.
God, I gotta see that now.
But nah, they are building something special, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no, that Triple H ain't happening. But
Yeah, no, dude. Yeah, we can't lose Triple H.
We can't do that. I would be devastated. And but yeah, no, I could definitely see what you're saying. I like what you're cooking. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so, but I mean,
all right.
Well, I ask you, how does The Rock play into Mania?
Dude, it's one of the biggest question marks for me.
Who's gonna fight him?
I don't know. Like,
it has to be someone big.
I don't have an answer. Like, that is my thing right now.
What about he's not that big, but what about Goldust returning? But he's still with AEW, correct? Or
he's still with AEW? He can't. Tony Khan wouldn't even allow it because Tony Khan's a douche.
Who is going to fight The Rock?
Exactly. Like, what is going to happen? Because we've seen some few tweets from some credible like wrestling Twitter guys have mentioned that it's not going to be a triple threat match at WrestleMania. So like if it's not a triple threat, then I mean, to me the most sense would be it's a triple threat, right? But at the same time, The Rock would kind of be siding Roman, and it's kind of more of a 2-on-1
handicap.
Now at the same time, you could have that face off between The Rock and Roman Reigns, and you kind of get, your cake and your ice cream because that's kind of the main event you wanted.
You're protecting The Rock, though.
Yeah, I don't like it. I really don't. I'm for real. It's the biggest question I just don't have an answer to. Like, usually I could come up with something.
You think it'll be Seth?
Really? Like, that just...
What if it's CM Punk? Oh, no, he's gone. Yeah.
You can't.
I don't
know. I don't know. Because and it can't be
down to come back.
He can't even move.
Yeah.
He's just not the same. I saw it and it was it felt good with him and Kevin Owens at Mania. It was a feel-good story. But at the end of the day, he can't move anymore as much as he could. It can't be Seth, right? Because they're having qualifying matches in the Elimination Chamber. So somebody's going to be a number one contender for his title. So to me, it can't be Seth.
What if Rock's the referee?
That just feels weird. I mean, it would feel weird that The Rock's at WrestleMania and he's not fighting.
I feel like there's someone that we're just forgetting about. Like,
I mean, who else is there? You have Randy Orton, John Cena again. We're getting a 3.0. Once in a lifetime has happened 3 times in a lifetime. Like, that don't make a lot of sense for me. Even though Cena usually gets a match at Mania, because he can still move, he can still do his thing. Not to the greatest abilities, but he still can do some things. I don't know, man. I'm befuddled. I really am as to what the hell are they going to do with The Rock, because I mean, yes, he makes sense in the storyline, but the end game, he's kind of just there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who are they going to bring in? It doesn't. Who? Who?
LA Knight. Oh my God. Highlight
Ah,
Hub says start talking about the Texans. Man, the episode was done about 10 minutes ago, but
sorry, bud.
yeah, sorry, Highlight. But we talked about the draft. We talked about free agency. Are we a threat?
You know what?
What?
If you missed the episode, you can check it out on anywhere where we stream all podcasting platforms on the Believe in Texans
Mm.
podcast. And you could also find it on my YouTube channel. You could also find it on Ruben's YouTube channel. You could rewatch the episode. We would absolutely love it. And so, if you are interested in rewatching this episode, Mr. Highlight Hub, that's exactly what you could do. How about that?
Hey, Hub's valid, bro. He's been around for a minute.
Yes, yes, yes.
Shout out to Highlight Hub. Last question. I cut Woods and Ward, restructured Tunzel's deal. Yeah, Woods and Wards will save you about $9 million between the two. Restructuring Lermy Tunzel's deal will save about $10.5 million. Saquon Barkley and McKinney, Xavier McKinney, I'm thinking, dude,
Yeah,
hey.
I like Xavier McKinney.
But he's out of the 4 years, he's been hurt 2 of them.
Really? I haven't really dig deep into
let me
his injury
see
history.
here.
I just know he's a really good ball player.
No, he had, I think this season, 11 pass breakups, and then was hurt last year. The year before that, played 16 games, 5 interceptions, 10 pass breakups. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being a part of tonight's episode. We're going to come back in a couple of days. Hopefully, y'all have a real blessed rest of y'all's night.